Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Meditation and Spiritual Practice. It's Tuesday morning, January 30th, and we are in the week, still the Exodus story, but the people of Israel have just crossed the Red Sea and are now at Mount Sinai, and this is the revelation experience. And the Jewish imagination, rabbinic imagination throughout time, has spent a lot of discussion on what was the nature of this Mount Sinai experience. What was it to have an experience of synesthesia where people heard colors and saw sounds? What was it like to have the thunder and the lightning and somehow hear God's voice speak out the Aseret HaDibrot, which we translate as the Ten Commandments, but it really means the 10 Dibrot utterances, the 10 expressions of speech. What does it mean to have God speak? And again, we're going to kind of put aside the assumption that that it sounded like Charlton Heston coming down from the sky, and that it's how we know it in human speech. So, so for this morning, I wanna share a little Torah from Rabbi Levi Yitzchak of Berdichev, and the way that he envisions this sense of speech is he does it by first referencing a line from the Talmud. And he does this on the comment of the opening line of Parshat Yitro, which is, in the third month after the Israelites had gone forth from the land of Egypt, on this very day, they entered the wilderness of Sinai, Midbar Sinai. And he brings this line from the Talmud that says, consider, Rav Yosef was known as Sinai. So he's trying to help give us a sense of what was that experience at Sinai, and what he brings is a line from the Talmud that refers to a person. Rav Yosef was known as Sinai. How was he known as Sinai? It was because he had an encyclopedic knowledge of all of the laws, holding within himself all of the different Jewish traditions. The entire Talmud, Rav Yosef knew. And it was for this reason they called him Sinai. And Rabbi Yitzchak goes on to say that the point of this is that whatever was heard at Sinai was all-inclusive. It was an all-inclusive experience. Just as Rav Yosef carried all of the contradictory opinions and Talmud and voices and knowledge, so too this voice at Sinai was an expression of a multi-vocal, multifaceted utterance that went forward. And he goes ahead and quotes a common midrash that says even those first two commandments or utterances at Sinai, or the first one, which is, I am God, you shall have no other gods before me, that both of these, I am God and no other gods, were said at one time. And in fact, he even goes on to say that the entire Torah, everything, all of it, all the contradictory opinions were all expressed in that moment of Sinai. So it's not so much that the people of Israel were listening vocally to hear a voice, which really you can only, when you hear a physical voice, you can only hear one line at a time, that goes through one thought at a time, one line at a time. In this experience, it was almost more of a opening of consciousness in which all voices, all was heard at once. And there are different parts of different midrashim in which this idea is brought. One is articulated in the song Lecha Dodi, where in talking about Shabbat, it says, Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. The words, are we supposed to guard Shabbat, Shamor Shabbat, like it says in Deuteronomy, or Zachor Shabbat, or remember Shabbat, as it is in Exodus. And instead, Rashi says, no, both pieces were uttered at once in one utterance. So those midrashes just are holding on two things at once, but he's saying that everything is at once. And specifically, he draws upon that even different aspects of God were articulated at once. So chesed, kindness, gevurah, strength and boundary, tiferet, compassion, were all expressed in one at one time at once. And as it kind of he goes on in his teaching, he says that it is really so important that if we are going to connect ourselves with God, with truth, we have to be willing to hear complementary voices at once. We have to be able to embrace paradox. And specifically, we have to be able to embrace both kindness, strength and boundary, and compassion at once. He gives an example from the Midrash where he shows where what could be the consequences of not being able to embrace all of this at once. And he says, Reish Lakish taught, anyone who becomes compassionate towards the cruel eventually becomes cruel to the compassionate. For whom do we learn this? From Saul, with regard to Amalek. Scripture reports, but Saul and the people had compassion on King Agag. Right? This is in the book of Samuel, that Agag was from the tribe of Amalek, the progenitor of Haman in the Purim story, was this piece of evil, and he would not kill Agag. And eventually the prophet Shmuel went ahead and did so. But then it says later regarding Saul, regarding the priests at Nob, scripture reports, he put Nob, the town of the priests, to the sword. Men, women, children, and infants, oxen, asses, and sheep, all to the sword. Towards the compassionate, he showed no compassion. So he's using this example of Shaul that is, in some sense, if you have chesed, if you have kindness, but you don't have boundary and strength that can stand and recognize against evil, then your chesed, your compassion, is going to end up doing more harm than good. It's not going to be appropriate where it needs to be. So he goes ahead and says that again, using numbers, that when it says in the third month after the Israelites had gone forth the land of Egypt, that number 3 again is that triumvirate of the aspects of chesed, kindness, strength and boundary, gevura, and rachamim, or tiferet, compassion. So this is part of the challenge in meditation and life, is how do we be open to being able to hear and receive and experience life in its multifacetedness? How do we say that? How do we open to the experience at Sinai, and that experience of God consciousness is not one that is all one thing. It's not all about bliss and goodness, but it is about being able to see the glory and the magnitude and the depth between this infinite tapestry of life and people and ourselves that have contradictory colors woven together to make a much, much deeper reality and picture. So part of what we're going to practice this morning in meditation is to really open to the totality of our experience, and be able to embrace everything that is arising moment by moment. Okay, so find a comfortable place to sit that you can be for a period of time without moving around too much. We'll begin with a melody, with a nigun, and then we will go into our guided meditation and then into silence. I die, die, I die, 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 die. I die, die, die. I die, 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 die. I die, die, die. I die, 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 die. I die, die. I die, 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 die. Die, 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 die. I, die, die. I, die, die, die. Did I, 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 yai da, yai da, da. I, 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 did it I, did it I, did it I, did it I, did I, did I. I. Did it I, did it I, did it I, did it I, did I, did I. Yai, di, yai, di, da. So let yourself settle into your body. Notice the pressure of gravity, the pull of gravity on your body, creating pressure on your bottom and the chair, the contact with your feet and the ground, the distance between the bottom of your legs, the length of your legs to your hips, the distance between the bottom of your spine to the top of your head, the slight pull of your arms out of your shoulder sockets, and the resting place of your hands. Allow yourself to be present with your entire body in space, all the sensations that are present from the tip of your toes all the way to the top of your head and your fingertips. The place where the air touches your face. And notice the movement of breath as the air enters your nostrils or your mouth on the inhale. The gentle expanse of the body to receive the in-breath. And that place where the inhale switches to an exhale and the body contracts as the air leaves the body. being present with every part of the inhale and the exhale, and aware of all the sensations in the body that accompany that movement of breath. Make a decision to be fully present here and now with breath and with body. You can also let the sounds in the room and beyond the room also be part of your awareness of this present moment, of the breath and the body. Letting your awareness be soft and flexible, but very present to each moment of the body breathing in space. Consider that this moment here is Sinai. And our ability to receive the infinitely deep and multivocal expression of the one presence. Our ability to receive is only about our own capacity, our own willingness and capability to be deeply present to this moment. By considering this as the Sinai experience, we're not trying to impose an idea of what that Sinai experience was like onto our present moment to moment observation, but instead a willingness to open deeply to everything, to give our attention fully to the totality of our experience, breath, body, sounds, thoughts. And as we consider that every part of our experience, everything that we label as outside ourselves and everything that is within us, that the more we open to all of it being the multivocal, multifaceted expression of the one, the more that any idea of who we are as a separate self begins to dissolve. And all there is the one voice at Sinai going forward, going forth through our moment to moment experience. I'm going to be quiet for a period of time to give us the space to practice being deeply present to all parts of our experience, to opening externally, internally, with the knowledge that all is one voice being expressed here and now, and that we can let go of any idea of ourselves as separate, any need to own the experience as mine, to let that dissolve and let it just be what it is. You find that your mind has drifted into fantasy, into dream, and you're only present with a part of your experience, whether that's thought or a sensation in your body, as soon as you notice that you're not open to hearing the full symphony, but instead focused on one instrument, just allow your attention to expand beyond whatever you're involved in, whatever you're witnessing, to include, but also connect with breath, body, the totality of the moment. Any questions, comments, thoughts inspired by either the meditation or the teaching? Eileen, go ahead.
Yes, I'm sorry. Your words about God speaking all at once was translated in my experience this morning as I always think of God as one being, but God is an all being, and I experienced almost like a comforting blanket around me. And that was God's presence for me today for the first time. The multiplicity was just surrounding me. Thank you.
Beautiful. I like that. All being. God is all being. I appreciate that, Eileen. Yes. Yeah, when we're really opening very deeply to every part of our experience, inside and outside, being that being, there's no fear, there's no anxiety, there's no place to go. It's whole, it's complete. It's a blanket. Thank you. Yes, Ellen.
I thought it was interesting because, how would I say, every time I brought myself back to the present, which obviously is my work during meditation, I felt I went much deeper into the present than I ever have before. I can't quite explain it. A tremendous relief to be back there, maybe because going other places sometimes is so painful, but coming back, knowing that almost it can be a safety zone. It can be a place with like a refreshing today of safety.
Beautiful. That's another kind of another part of what Eileen was sharing as the blanket of comfort. There's also a safety in that experience. And, I think if, for those of you who have been coming to this group and been meditating together for a long time, know that the meditation itself isn't really different. The instructions may focus on a different part or this or that, but it's really about being fully present, and open to our moment-to-moment experience. But the different teachings and the Torah that kind of comes along with it, in some ways engages our imagination, that allows us to do this very simple work. I mean, it's really simple, not easy, but simple, to be here now, right? Just to be here now. And yet there is so much intention and choice and awareness, that needs to be present in order to do that simple work of being here now. And so, this again, as we started to look at the Sinai, the teachings about the Sinai experience, again, the outcome of the meditation is the same, but the Sinai awakens our imagination to what is it like to be at that moment, to be able to, because I don't know about you, but in my mind, when I start to open to that, what happened at Sinai, and my imagination goes to that place, there's a real openness beyond the ordinary that has such depth. So it's that kind of place in me that can imagine that kind of depth, that the Sinai teaching kind of, it inspires me to bring that kind of attention and presence to the moment. So I'm just wanna name, I think, that whether we're talking about the stories of the Israelites coming out of Egypt and expanding beyond our own limitations, or anything that is inspired by the Torah or concepts, they're all just different ways to encourage us to bring our attention to the present moment in a deep way.
This is off topic a little. Good morning. Thank
Morning.
you. Thank you, Rabbi.
There's no off topic, Audrey, because it's all one multivocal, voice that includes everything, all inclusive.
Okay. I was listening to them, and they were talking about the music of Auschwitz, and they had an orchestra there, and they found music that the Jewish prisoners wrote, and they were performing it in Minnesota, and the people were stunned. The professor was to being there at the camp and what it must have been like, like the music seeped in. And you were talking about that today. And you also mentioned the word because I think Itzhak Perlman might have has that, when you could envision the light and the sounds. You use, I'm sorry?
Synesthesia is the fancy word for it. Yes.
Yeah, that certain people have that. Yes, yeah. Anyhow, it made me think of that. And I'm really trying to just be there today, really trying. And it was helpful. It was very helpful. I think I was way more in the present than I can be. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Audrey. Okay. Well, lovely to be with everybody this morning. Great to see you. I hope everybody has a great week. And again, for those who were interested, we were talking about it before we started, but I've been doing a 3-session class through the Jewish Collaborative of Orange County through their Advanced Learning Institute, or ALI, their online classes. Yesterday was the second out of a 3-part series, but they are recorded and you can get access to it. And the class is on Neo-Hasidism, which is really kind of looking at contemporary meditation and Jewish spirituality in Judaism today, and how it's expressed, and kind of this overall movement of Neo-Hasidism that tries to bring forth the spirituality of the Hasidic masters, but in a way that really embraces the social consciousness of plurality and egalitarianism and all of that. So the next class will be on February 11th, and it's specifically on meditation in the Jewish tradition. So if you'd like to learn a little bit more intellectually about kind of how meditation has been a part of the Jewish tradition and the different modalities, both in history and present, its connection to Kabbalah and different parts of Jewish thought and life, that will be on February 11th. And all the information about how to do it is in the chat. Thank you, Sheila and Sarah. Sarah's link goes specifically to the class, and Sheila's goes to just the homepage of the Jewish Collaborative. So look forward to seeing you all soon, and have a great week.